Everybody, welcome back to my shop. This is part 2 of the miter saw station build. Today we're going to be building the drawers and the doors and also the handles to finish off the miter saw station. Get started cutting all my drawer parts to the exact dimensions they need to be to make up the boxes that's going to fit directly in the carcasses between the drawer slides. Now I'll head over to the miter saw and square up one edge of all the drawers. Once I have all the parts squared up, I could set up my stop block and cut all the parts to length. Now I'm over at the router table. You can see I had a setup block. It just makes the process go a little faster using a drawer lock bit. I'm going to do a separate video on using this drawer lock bit because it's just too much to explain while I'm building this miter saw station here. So when I do the glue up, you'll start to get more of an idea of how the joint goes together. And you can see I'm using a backer block on all the pieces as I run it through, and that's just to eliminate any blowout in the back, because this router bit is kind of funky when it comes to plywood. Now I'll bring all the drawer parts over to the bench, do a dry assembly here, and this is how you can see how the joint comes together, kind of like a tongue and groove assembly. And once I have it dry fit, everything's good, what I'll do is I'll open everything up and I'll mark a groove at the bottom of each piece. This way I don't get confused when I have to run it through the table saw, because if you run the groove on the wrong side, the drawer will never go together. Now back at the table saw, I'll adjust my rip fence, lower my blade, and I'm going to cut the first groove on all the drawer pieces to accept the bottom. After the first pass, the groove is not wide enough to accept the 1/4 inch bottom, so I'll slightly move the fence over and adjust it so that I can widen the groove after another single pass. Then I'll check it against the 1/4 inch bottom to see if I have a good fit. Once the groove is wide enough, I'll take just the backs of the drawers and I'll raise the blade slightly just so that I can make a complete through cut. What this is going to do is actually cut the groove off at the back of the drawer, so it'll let me slide the drawer bottom in and not encapsulate it. Now to measure for the drawer bottoms, you see me do this trick before. I'm just going to take 2 sticks and put them inside the drawer while it's clamped together, and I'll put them in the groove, then I'll clamp them together, remove it, and then take a measurement from there, and that's going to be the measurement of the drawer bottom. Once I have my measurements, I'll use 1/4 inch plywood and I'll cut out the pieces for the bottoms. Now that all the drawer parts are complete, it's on to the glue up. Once the drawer box is assembled, I'll just tap everything with a mallet to make everything flush, and then I'll check everything for square while I clamp it up. Now I'll just secure the 1/4 inch drawer bottom at the back with some staples. In the event it ever needs to be replaced, I can just pry these staples out with a screwdriver and slide the drawer bottom out and replace it. Now that the drawers are assembled and they're ready to be installed, I'm just going to clamp these jigs in place. I'll rest the drawer box on there, slide it in, and it'll make it easier for me to attach them to the drawer glides. As I pull the drawer box assembly out, I'll use a square to make sure that the actual drawer glide itself is flush with the front of the drawer. Once it's all attached, I'll remove the jigs and check the operation of the drawer to make sure everything's smooth. Now that the drawers are assembled and installed, I need to cut the false front, so I'm back here at the table so to do that. Then back at the miter saw, I'll set up my stop block and cut them to length. I'll clamp the drawer fronts in place, and then I'll pre-drill and screw them in from the back, double checking that everything stays flush all around. Now onto the doors. I'm using Euro style hinges for this. It's a completely concealed hinge, so I'm using a jig to install those in the correct position. Now I'll measure and mark the location according to the manufacturer's specs of where I need to install these on the carcass. Once you affix the brackets to the cabinet, then you can hang the door and make your adjustments. And once the door is hung, I'll just use the adjustment screws to get the even reveal all the way around the door. Now the drawer pulls and the door handles are going to be real simple and economical. I'm just going to use a piece of scrap wood that I have laying around 3/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to rip it to about 2.5 to 3 inches. I'm going to cut a rabbet in the bottom so that you can actually get your fingers underneath it to pull the door and drawer open, and then I'll install them. I set up a stop block at the miter saw station, and I'll cut all the handles to the same length. I'll just use a small block plane and chamfer the edges. To install the pulls, I measured and marked the location of where they're going to go, and now I'm going to pre-drill through the front, and then I'm going to screw them in from the back. I'll clamp the pull in place, and I'll screw it in from the back of the drawer, not using any glue, because if anything happens to these where they get damaged or chipped or anything like that, I can just unscrew it and replace it. And I'll repeat this process on the doors and install the handles the same way. Alright guys, that's it for this week's project. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It was an easy build and it's very fully functional. Got my drawers here. I decided not to go with the soft close drawer glides. I didn't think it was necessary. Also the doors, I didn't think it was necessary for a soft close. Spend that extra money on a fine woodworking project instead. I'm probably going to put 3 coats of the amber shellac, which is the same color as the workbench that I have for my outfeed table. Eventually I'll get to that down the road. I don't think it's necessary now to do that. I have a lot of projects that I need to get going on, so I'll start that sometime in the near future. These are 16-inch full extension drawers. Got a lot of storage in there, and that's it. So make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you click that picture of notification bell down at the bottom of the screen. This way you get notified every time I upload a video, and I'll see you guys next time.